What up, what up, what up, y'all? How you doing? Shout out to my boy Swervis with that dope intro on the beats. We're here on Principles of Passion, Season 3, Episode 13. Aisha Oliver. How are you?
I am good. I cannot complain. I won't complain. I'm feeling strong. How about you?
You know, I've been trying to find a balance, right? That's the title of the show today, right? The balancing act of a creative Chicagoan.
Yeah.
You know, we're both in a space that there's no framework, right? There's no proven system that's working continuously in the work that we do. So every day we got to be creative and creative in environments that they don't have the same resources that a lot of other areas in our country today have. And so it's a different type of balance. And I wanted to bring you on because you're just a powerhouse in the Austin community here in Chicago. And when I say that, people, there's people that walk the walk, right? But there's people that roll up their sleeves and get down and crawl to get to where the people need to get. And Aisha Oliver is definitely one of those people that is out there, y'all, out there every day. So I'm appreciative to have you on. I'm thankful that you're staying safe. I know that many of the young men and women that you work with on a daily basis are not as safe, and are not in the same positive mindset. So, again, just thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Is there anything, and I want to kind of give an overview of who you are as a person, but before I do that, I think it's always good to kind of clear a space. Is there anything, you want to get off your chest that you want to say to anyone out there? Just anything that you want to tell the people that might be listening out there?
If I could, I would say to the people in Austin, both North and South, that the vision is so great that sometimes we're definitely going to have to collaborate more to actually get Austin to where we know it can be, especially to where I know it can be. And I want us to realize that everything that we need to make Austin better is already here. It's all about getting out there, putting your feet to the ground, and being consistent and having a passion for wanting to see this neighborhood change for the better.
That's it. That's it. And it ain't easy, y'all. It's not easy, and it's not going away. The work is going to be here. Anthony Clark, a good friend of both of ours, said, he posted it not too long ago. He said, privilege is thinking that when Trump is out, the work is done. It's not going to be done. It's not going to be done. It's putting it in every day, day in, day out, blood, sweat, and tears, and dealing with it, and I'm newer to the space. So I'm just honored to be on with a vet that has been doing work in the community for a long time. The show, again, the title, The Balancing Act of a Creative Chicagoan. Just to give you the background of Aisha, she's the executive director and founder of Root to Fruit Youth Foundation. She's an innovative empath with a passion for healing and relationship building. And with her savvy business skills, she really considers herself a social entrepreneur, right? Which that's not just an entrepreneur, that's someone that really needs to connect with people socially and understand who they are and how they maneuver, right? There's a whole psychology to that. And there's a sales piece, and there's just a foundational understanding piece, and does a great job of that. Tell us more about kind of Root, and I could edify you, but let's pause at Root to Fruit right now. Just talk to us about that, how it started, where it came from,
So with Root to Fruit, it actually came about, I was 18, going on 19, and I spent a lot of time then in the neighborhood, just being able to go into different areas in Austin because I was a dancer. And when I would go to different places, dancing or battling, I would compete a lot. I felt like there was such a disconnect between kids, from Chicago Avenue to Division, from Division to Grand. And it was like, we all live in the same struggle. Why do we feel like we have to like kind of beef with each other? And this was when I was in high school. So I started to volunteer at different locations in like the area. So the Park District became one of the places I started to volunteer to teach dance to after school kids, I think twice a week. And I would be at Moore Park on Adams. Well, that summer, before that summer came around, one of the bosses came and asked me if I would consider working for the summer at the Park District because the kids really liked me. The parents, really took to me. So I took the job, and while I was there, I came in contact with a lot of young people who were coming from homes that were like almost imaginable, like the stories that I would hear from these kids who clearly trusted me enough to open up to me. And I started to really connect with them on a different level just through that one summer. So I went home, I was going back to college, and I wrote out one day in a journal because I love to write. And I wrote out one day that I wanted to be for these kids what I felt like I needed when I was their age.
Yes.
And someone, I want to say a friend of mine gave me a book written by Russell Simmons. And in the book, Russell Simmons says that it was his meditation drove him to the point of wanting to be someone who planted seeds and watched it grow from root to fruit. And it just, root to fruit, it stuck with me. It stuck with me because a lot of the kids that I was coming in contact with were like 8, 9, 10 years old. And I was literally a part of their life. Even if I wasn't at that Park District at the time, I was a part of their lives for a while. Some of those kids I literally just watched graduate from high school this year in 2020, and I met them when they were in 3rd grade. So I'm literally taking my skills, my social skills, and my own personal background and living in Austin, growing up in Austin, and knowing these streets and knowing these back roads and how everything works. And I just meet them where they are. I've been able to create and sustain some relationships that a lot of people could not actually even initiate with some of the guys, mostly the males, who need like a mother figure or a nurturer in their lives. And I decided to turn Root to Fruit into not just a saying, but an actual organization where I myself for the past 9.5, 10 years have been doing what some people title street intervention. I didn't know I had a name, but they call it street intervention. For me, it's really just being able to connect with the people in my community, specifically the young people in my community, open doors for them, create opportunities for them, and walk them through it step by step. I don't give up on them. I have some young people that are old as 26, 27 now that I met when they were 15, 16 years old. So I've become mother of the hood, or mama poo, so they call me like the mom of the hood. Which I love it. I'm adorned by it. I love the fact that I've been able to reach so many young people and they keep in contact with me. And this is my way of giving back and planting those seeds. So the only thing that I ask them to do is to come back and do for someone else what I was able to do for them. That's Root to Fruit.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, just being able to give them what you felt you lacked, right? As any parent, as any mother does, it's like, man, you out there, but man, let me just show you this, because then you don't got to go through this, because that's what I went through, and I just want to prevent you. So I love that. Y'all, I saw Aisha, and I was introduced to her by Kate. And if y'all don't know Kate, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn, especially if you're from Oak Park. Kay Redling, amazing person, but she introduced me, and then right away Anthony Clark introduced me. And if y'all know either of them, you just know the work.
Yeah.
Right? That there's a lot of talk, but then there's the work. And that's a daily grind. Unfortunately, it's not easy sometimes, y'all. And a lot of times when you're being creative, when you're putting yourself at risk around people who are at a level that they're challenged at being at a better level, right? By whatever is going on in their life. And so I think we sacrifice ourselves a little bit, right? We sacrifice our, I don't want to say sanity, but our balance of, hey, I want to help you, man. I'm trying to help me. Let me help you. And there's, and so it's not easy, people, but we want to talk today about how to balance that and how we just all get better at that. One other thing, just on a personal note with you, Aisha, I used to know her before we get into our questions. So you told us a little bit about Root to Fruit, but you're also involved in another conversation that's ongoing that you're really looking to bring to some people's hearts and some communities. I used to know her. Tell me a little bit more about what that means, what that quote is.
So I used to know her is actually stemmed from me finding a trunk in my mother's basement where she kept every journal she had ever given me since I was at least 12 years old. And I sat down one day and I read through them and I realized that part of why Root to Fruit got started is because I had so many things and hurdles that I had to get over as a young person and as a teenager. There's so much that I saw as a kid that, in the Black community, sometimes those things don't get addressed. So we have these childhood traumas that follow us into adulthood because we don't address them or we don't know how to address them. So I wrote a book that is actually being published right now. It's called I Used to Know Her. It is a very transparent journey of what I had to go through from childhood until adulthood and why those things help to shape me into the person that I am today. And those conversations, what I decided to do was turn it into like a traveling conversation, which unfortunately, since the pandemic, I haven't been in schools like I was. But it's a traveling conversation where I would go to different schools within my community to specifically talk to Black and brown children about how to deal with their issues, how to address their issues and not take these things into their next level of life with them. You can't pour from an empty cup. And unfortunately, people do not realize how mentally straining living in communities like Austin can be, especially when you're a child and you don't really know how to address those things. You don't know what you're feeling. You don't know, if there's someone you could talk to without being judged. And that was one of my biggest fears as a kid, is that if I said something about how I felt, that people would judge me or they would think less of me, or I would get tagged somehow. So there's so many Black kids walking through this neighborhood every day who have issues that they are afraid to deal with. So they act on them in different ways. But that's been the universe's way of putting me into a place where they run into someone like me who can absolutely understand what they're going through, because I've been there already. So I don't talk BS with them. I'm very straightforward. It's like they're talking to their friend, and we slowly but surely figure out ways that work for them that will help them get through their issues. And I used to know her as just my way of opening myself up to the young people in my community to see that there are people out here who care for them because they went through what they went through, and we're going to get through it together and make things more about healing in the Black community, more about growth in the Black community, and having a different type of peace. A lot of our young people don't know what peace is. They don't know how to obtain peace. They don't know how to just sit still and let silence fall over them and just center themselves. So these are things that are never really talked about in our community. So I wanted to spearhead that conversation by putting my own life out there in the forefront and allowing others to see that side of me that they probably don't get to see most often. So that's I Used to Know Her. It's the book will be out in the next month. It is being published right now. So look out for that, you guys. I Used to Know Her. That's my first book.
Let's go. Oh, I ain't gonna talk about the comment on Facebook earlier, but I'm just glad you're on the show, girl. I used to know her. I appreciate it. I want to just take a brief pause too to give a special shout out to Echo Theater Collective. That man, Maui just they came out of nowhere and said they sponsor our event this Saturday, this wellness event, and so just want to give a shout out to them. You know, a big part of the work we do is bringing that wellness to the community, right, and really trying to understand how we do that, right, and it's not always the money; it's bringing the people, right. Without resources, people, and without people, you know, we can't bring the resources, and when they come here, then no one's there to do the work. So just having that full circle, having that balance, so that we can move forward creatively. So just shout out to them, as we look to figure out new ways, like you said, to partner with people and just figure out how to get it done, right? How to get it done. Man Theater, last personal one, man. The Man Theater. Sorry, y'all. Man 3-8er. When I looked at it, I was like, okay, CEO of Man 3-8er. What is that? But tell us a little bit more about that one too.
So I am one of those people who creativity and business and just wanting to be an entrepreneur has always been in my blood. I am a dancer by birth. I love to dance. I love all forms of dance. But I'm also very much into many different forms of art, theater, fashion. It's so many things that I love to do that have always been a part of my life. So I started Man, and it's Maneater.
Okay.
Spelled MAN, the number 3, ATER. So it's basically a women's self-empowerment class that I started, really teaching women, because there are a lot of women who would come to me like, I don't really know how to just let my hair down, just be sexy, or, you know, I want to be able to walk in heels. I want to be able to be confident. So what I'm teaching is honestly through my dance classes and the Maneater classes is just teaching women how to be confident in themselves. For me, confidence is the sexiest thing ever. You know, some people think that it's your looks or how you dress or, you know, how you're built. But to me, it's like, if I walk into a room, when I walk into that room, you know that I'm there. I don't have to say anything. It's the confidence that I have when I step into a room. I know who I am. I know what I've done. I know the spirit that I carry. And that it comes with me no matter where I go. And people, they know how to treat me based on how I treat myself and how I assert myself in a room. And other women have asked me to help them with that. So with Maneater, we've done like big group parties, and we've done 40th birthday parties and things like that, where women get their friends together, and it's like a ladies' night where we're really focused on empowering one another, teaching them how to walk in heels, teaching them how to, you know, feel sexy and be sexy. If they want to learn to dance, we can do all of that. But it's really about just letting women know that you don't have to be what this girl is or that girl is. As long as you are confident with who you are, then you're the sexiest woman in the room.
I love it. I love it. And mispronunciation, y'all. I just didn't want to say Maneater. I was a little self-conscious. Okay. All right. So, but no, it's beautiful. I think it's to empower women in this time. And, you know, we need it. We need it. Women are they're going to take care of us, y'all.
Yeah.
For real. For real.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So first question of the day, what does balance mean to you, Miss Aisha Oliver?
Balance to me, I've had to learn over the past couple years how to balance, to be completely honest. And to me, it's learning when to pull away. It's learning that I cannot do everything. I cannot lead everything. I cannot save everyone. And it's learning how to make sure that I not only take care of everyone else, but that I absolutely take care of me. Because if I'm not in good shape, if I'm not where I need to be mentally and physically and emotionally, then I can't help my people. I can't help my community the way that I really aspire to. So I've had to learn the hard way to take some time out and really center myself, and really think about what my intentions are and my goals are. So I've learned to really like, you know what, I can't do this, I can't be a part of that. I'll pick it up on, the other end, but really being okay with saying I can't do this or I can't do that. It's being okay with saying no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've struggled with that one. I love what you said too. Um, no isn't easy to say when you want to be a people pleaser, right? When you want to be a helper, when you want
Yeah.
to make sure that everyone is good. But if you're not good, then nothing around you is good, right? Any vibe you give off it's not your it's not your authentic self, because it's still hidden behind the pieces of you that are dealing with trauma. And so that's not allowing us to bring forth that full self and bring that. One thing I've had, even in the past year, is like, what is my true self? What is my passion? And digging into that, because I feel like too, for me, for a long time, I wanted to fulfill everyone else's needs because I lacked who I was. And the second I started being like, oh, damn, I like this, and fuck if you don't like that, like I like this. And we have to do a better job of creating spaces for our young adults to do that. That's what those safe spaces are. It's like, where can you really go in and be like, oh, fuck you, this is my creativeness. You don't have to like it, but it's a part of me, and I'm progressing. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that for sure. How should we keep our balance, right? Because I feel like a lot of times we have the person we were, right? And then there's the person that we are right now, right? And then there's also the person that we want to be. So, what are some suggestions that you may have for anyone, young adults, anyone of all ages out there, really being like, yo, like, I did this, but like, I'm here right now, but man, I wish I was there. Like, what's some advice that you may give for some people?
Advice that I give to my young people, I actually had to do it today, was letting one of I call them my young bulls, usually my boys, letting one of them know that what has happened to him is not who he is. I'm teaching them how to learn how to separate their experiences from who they are. My father used to tell me when I was younger that you can be in the hood and not be of the hood. And he would always tell me that just because you live in the hood does not mean that you are of the hood. You have some attributes, there's some things that the streets and the neighborhood has taught you, but that doesn't absolutely mean that is who you're going to be, and that's not who you have to accept yourself as being. So I'm teaching them right now to balance what they see with what they want to be. A lot of young people don't realize, a lot of older people rather, don't realize that a child can't be what they can't see. So they need to see more positive images. They need to be around more positive things and people and experiences in order to balance out who they want to be. If you're being fed all day that everybody's shooting guns and everybody's selling drugs and everybody's on the corner, then mentally, I was taught as a kid to always protect your eye gate, your ear gate, and your mouth. Be careful of what you speak. Don't take in everything with your eyesight, and definitely don't listen to everything that's told to you or that is going on around you, because it gets into your spirit. And what gets into your spirit eventually becomes, a part of who you are. So being very protective and balancing themselves with what they listen to, what they watch, who they connect with. I'm very big on teaching them to, everybody's not allowed to be in your space. Everybody can't go with you. So no, everybody can't connect with you. Everyone is not your homie. That's not your friend. So be very wise with who you choose to put in your space, because it'll eventually be a part of who you are. So balancing that is really balancing what you want to see for yourself and not making, the situations that you've gone through such an issue that you take it on and feel like, this is what I have to be, or this is what I'm going to be. You can absolutely go through all the things that I've gone through and still say, that's not what I want to be.
Right. Yeah. 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 I love all that. You can truly go through whatever and have that as a foundation of where you don't want to go back to. Right. Like that should be your repellent.
Yes.
Yeah, I've gone through some stupid stuff, right? And I'm blessed, obviously, because my stupid stuff wasn't because I grew up here and there. It was because I was a freaking knucklehead, but regardless of that, one thing I try and do is, they say there's the ego, right? There's the id and the super ego. The ego is what's going to get you to do what you need to do. The super ego is what's going to have you live in your transgression sometimes and hold you back from doing the thing you need to do. It's that voice like, you're not good enough for that. Or, yeah, this messed up, right? And it obviously keeps us balanced. And so if we could all learn to distinguish, and trust me, this is not, I ain't speaking like I've been doing this forever. Like literally in the past year and a half, I've had to learn to distinguish balance between that super ego and that ego. Like I want this to be my fuel, but I don't want this to be the anchor that's holding me back, right? Like I want what happened. Like I want to know, like, man, I want to go back to that, but I don't want it coming up every time I'm trying to get to this,
right?
And like that's the balance of being able to live into this and being like, I'm going there regardless, So yeah, I love it.
Definitely.
How do you feel yourself? Like, do you feel yourself living like in a certain space in the past, the present, the future more these days? Because and y'all, for those of y'all tuning in new, that we, I've talked a little bit about Aisha. She's talked a little bit about herself, but when you look on the news and you hear about, I got this new app, Citizen, I'm seeing every day. And I don't even know if I want it anymore, but I'm seeing every day where people are getting shot on the daily and people are dying. And you're in the heart of that. I know a young gentleman, there was a shooting last week. You told me you've been warning people about, look out for this kid. Ain't nothing good gonna come about if you hanging around him. And tell what happened there. Tell us. And I'm only saying this because there is that balancing of here's where we want to go, but sometimes we're living in this present. So just walk us through that a little bit.
It's like, so I would honestly say, in order for me to continue doing what I'm doing, I had to see some of the things that I saw when I was younger. I had to experience some of the things that I experienced when I was younger. Like I'm not just talking from a perspective of someone who just grew up in the neighborhood. Like this is what my family did. Like I've seen this since I was a little bitty kid. Like what these kids are doing, I can guarantee my family was probably 10 times worse. Because back then it was really about money. Now they just want to be recognized. And that's one of the things that's like mind blowing to me, is that people don't realize that these kids are doing, and it's not just these kids, because a lot of what we've seen lately has been adults. A lot of these shootings are stemming from young people or young adults who feel like they have to prove themselves to someone. They want that glory or that hood fame so bad that they would go and, do something that could possibly take their lives in more than one way. You're either going to jail or you're going to die. And that's really all to it. Like there's no other out to that life. Mm-hmm. So what I've done is like just seeing certain things when I was younger, it allows me to recognize when there's certain movement going on around me or in my neighborhood, and I pay close attention to it. And because I know so many of the young people and I know so many of the people in my neighborhood, I know which ones are the ones that I can help and I can save, and I would know which ones I cannot. And not that I don't want to, but because they have already chosen their path. And some of the young people that I've come across, they've chosen their path. And I think it's because there was no one there early on. And when I say early on, we have to start getting these kids at 7, 8, and 9. Because by the time they're 10, 11, 12, they've already seen so much. The streets have taught them so much. These videos have taught them so much. You know, they have so much access to things that we didn't have access to. So now you have kids as young as 10 and 12, they can go get a gun.
Man.
So if you don't catch them before that, if you don't have their relationship before that and establish a level of respect, which for me, that has been what has helped, is that they respect me. They might not respect a lot of other adults, but they respect me because I respect them. So for that one particular young guy, it's like, I knew he was trouble. You know, he's been trouble for a while. He's been trouble for at least 3 years, maybe even 4, where, you know, you can tell he probably came from a home where someone, and I don't want to say that they didn't take care of him or they didn't try with him, but something about the streets was pulling him closer and closer. And it got the best of him. And anytime he's around, trouble's around. And I was telling people that for weeks before this happened, like, you know, you see this cat, you got to go the other way because he's hot. We know he's hot. You know, whenever he's around, it's trouble. And I know other people in the neighborhood know it too. It's just that a lot of people are afraid to say it. You know, I'm one of those people who just, I'm not going to live in bondage. I'm not going to allow the kids around me to live in bondage. I'm not going to allow you to terrorize my neighborhood. Like, no, bro, you got to go.
Right.
You got to go. Like, so if I say, man, watch out for him, he's trouble, I mean what I say. I'm not just finger pointing anyone just for the heck of it. It's just like, I want to be able to, and I know I'm not, you know, I'm not Superwoman. I don't have a cape, but if letting you know that he's trouble is going to save a life of some innocent person in my neighborhood, then let me go spread the word. Y'all got to clear the way. You know, he shouldn't be allowed to come over here and stand. And that's exactly what happened. You know, we have people who they come in the neighborhood or they're in the neighborhood and they feel invincible because people haven't held them accountable for their other actions. So it's like a cycle. Like either you're going to stop him and hold him accountable for his actions, or this is going to continue to happen because now it feels like what they going to do to me, you know?
Right.
So it's
bold.
You have, very bold. So you have to be twice as bold as they are. And some people are afraid to do that.
Yeah. I think most are, you know, and that's the challenge. And it's not afraid to necessarily going up and, you know, being all about it. But the challenge is people are afraid to communicate with someone, to work through a challenge with them, to get them to see a different light. Because it's easy to go up and say, oh, you wrong. But it ain't easy to go up to someone and sit down and try and understand them and see what the hell they doing, why they doing it, and spend that 6 to 9 months to 3 years to really sit and marinate with them and walk them through that journey and that change in their life. Because that's scary, because it comes with some scary shit, you know? And so again, just kudos to you, and I commend you for walking that life with so many people, because you're out there saving lives, right? In the roots. So much love. So there's a quote. Tell me if you know who this quote. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. You probably gonna know who the quote is. So be sure when you step with care and great tact. And remember that life is a great balancing act. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains.
Tough. It's still tough to this day. That's probably something that should be on the walls of the classrooms in our neighborhoods. Like, seriously, that if I can say, we don't have a lot of young people who have access or even the knowledge of what our people went through or how far we had to come to get to this place. I really and truly believe that my father making me read as often as he made me read, it makes me feel like there's an open door for me anywhere I go. One, because I've learned firsthand how to educate myself. I was never taught to depend on the educational system.
Right.
You know, it was always like, read this for yourself, research this for yourself. Who did this? Who did that? Like, just learning my own history. And I feel like that has been taken away from our young people. Like, they don't know their history. They don't know how strong of a people we are. They don't know how resilient of a people we are. So the only thing that they have to hang on to are these faux images that are, you know, put in front of them nowadays. You know, everybody's really, you can be whatever you want to be on social media. You could be a millionaire on Instagram and be living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, you could legit be whatever you want to be on social media. And our young people really need to know their history and about the struggle and how strong and how creative our people are. In order for them to know where they're going, they have to know where they've been. They have to know what came before them, who set the ground, who laid the foundation. And unfortunately, those are things that are just not taught in schools. You know, if these kids are not taught to read and research on their own, they're only going to go off of what they see on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. You know, none of this stuff could actually be valid, but to them it is, because there's no checks and balances. There's no checks and balances. So it's on us to take a quote like that and understand that someone is empowering you to move forward, to march forward. And they're telling you, you can do this. There's nothing in your path. There's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing that you can't get over. Like, if they understood that, I mean, just the power that will come from these people would be amazing. But how often would they hear a quote like that, you know, in a classroom? How often would they hear something like that in general, unless you or I said it to them, or, you know, they came across it? How often would they understand what is being said in a quote like that? Like, we just don't get those things.
You don't. And you know what? It's so crazy, the simplistic place that this quote came from, because it's such a simple yet challenging way to live your life. But it's from Dr. Seuss, right? Oh, the places you'll go, right? And I'm gonna read it again. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. And will you succeed? Yes, yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. And it's, you know, it's really saying that yes from right here, like right in your heart. And a lot of times we don't be saying it from here, and then we wonder how we balance it, but you're not balancing really. You're balancing someone else's scale, right? When you ain't putting your passion first, or doing what you love to do, or working. And I ain't saying, you know, we all gonna have to work for the man at some point, but we don't all have to do that for the long haul if we really understand what our value is deep inside. And like you said, we got it all right here within our communities. It's just so much trauma that's pushing that down that we like digging, trying to find it. You know what I mean? So it's every day. It's the work every day.
True meaning of trying to keep your head above water.
That's it.
Definitely.
So what are things, you know, when we think of bringing harmony to our life, right? And a lot of young bucks out there are struggling with that right now, of understand, okay, I got to do this, but I don't really want to do this, right? Like, how do we bring some sort of flow state or harmony to that?
Honestly, we have to start allowing our young people to understand that it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm just not doing well right now. Like, I feel like the world is on my shoulders, and I feel like this burden is on me. Like, we have to make not being okay okay. Like, say something. I think it's to the point where the young man that I talked to today, he basically told me he felt like, I feel like the world is on my shoulders. I feel like I don't have anybody in my corner. And it was just like he was spilling out how he just wants to do right, but he feels like everyone is coming down on him because he's not moving at the pace that they felt he should be moving. And I'm like, yo, you want me to be completely honest with you? That's called depression. You're depressed, and you are not only depressed, but your pride, because he's had to be a man in his family for so long, his pride won't let him tell anyone that he's not well, that things are tough for him. So I'm like, yo, that's what I'm here for. Don't ever feel like you can't hit my line and tell me, Miss Pooh, I just need a moment. I just need to chill. It's just so much. So, harmony for me is allowing young people to just express that they're not well. Sometimes just talking about it will help you feel better, but it's not often that those safe spaces are created. And that's why I started to do the peace circles, because I wanted them to understand that they are not the only ones that feel like this. Sometimes they don't even recognize what they're feeling, or they don't recognize that darkness. They just know that it's a cloud over them and they can't seem to get away from it. So it's like, okay, you know what? Let's figure out how we can create some safe spaces where they can come and just say, man, I don't know. I really don't know. Sometimes you don't know. Just tell me that, and I would rather them lay those burdens down with me or with people that they trust, or in a circle of their friends where they know whatever they say right here, it goes no further. We're going to help you right now by encouraging you. And it could just be words. You're not going to change everything in that very moment, but just finding a way to vent. A lot of young people on this west side and this south side have nowhere to vent, honestly. And that's why, teachers who really care is such a big deal. Coaches who really care is such a big deal. People in the neighborhood who just might know the kid who they bond with somehow. Like, just having someone that you can go and talk to, because it's not always going to be in the house. Right. There's a lot of young people who they go home and it's like, a war zone in the house.
Yeah, right.
So that's no better than, I'd rather stay outside on the block then, because I ain't got to deal with all that drama when I go in the crib. So,
and I got people judging me. They just, right.
Nobody's pointing a finger at me, telling me what I didn't do, or what I'm not this, I'm not that. So, and I'm not saying that's, all of the households in this community, because we have some amazing parents who are just trying to do as much as they can. But we do have a lot of people who their past won't allow them to see their child's future, or whoever they're, over, won't allow them to see their future. So you have kids battling things that are twice as big as they are, So harmony for me is just like telling these kids, or creating a space without telling them, or creating an opportunity for them to just let their guards down for once and be a young person and be vulnerable. And to me, that is one of the greatest accomplishments ever, is to allow or get to the point where a young person feels like, man, I can just be myself here with her. One of my friends told me the other day, actually told me last week, that growing up, my parents' house was where my parents' house was the only place he was allowed to be a kid. We're talking about a 35-year-old man who came and sat with me and we talked for 2 hours. And he's like, man, your parents' house was the only place I was able to be a kid. In my house, I had to be the man. And it was like, there I came to y'all house so much because I could play a game, or I could, get up in the morning, there's pancakes on the table because your dad done made breakfast for all of us, so I can go to the gym and just play ball. And it's like people don't think about that. Creating those spaces, you're talking about a man who felt like without my father's house, he would have never been able to really be a child. So imagine, the young people in my community and other communities who feel like they don't have that space. They don't have that place they can go to and just be a kid. So now you're dealing with kids who've had to be grown, and now you can't tell them nothing because we've allowed them to be grown for the past 5, 6 years now. So now it's like you can't tell me anything because I've had to be an adult all this time. So yeah, at 17, I'm an adult, and there's nothing you can tell me. But if we create those spaces and stop making it seem like, you know, it's not my child, so it's not my problem. No, 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 no. These are my kids. These are my kids over here, and nobody's gonna come and disturb how my kids live and what they want. So if that means I gotta push a little harder, I gotta step on some necks, I gotta, assert myself in a certain type of way to create that harmony and that peace for them because they don't know how to create it for themselves just yet, then let's get it moving. Let's get it going.
Love it. I love it. Just putting the heart and soul and everything you can out there. That's what it's about.
Yep.
There's a gentleman out there. He does a lot of talk about work-life balance and just more balanced life. His name is Michael Hyatt. I'll actually put a link to this article in. But he says, so how should we keep our balance between our past, present, and future? He says, try this. Glance at the past, work in the present, and focus on the future. And I think that's so deep, right? And it's so philosophical, yet so simple, and we break it into all these things that make us think about this and that. And I think if we could do that more, right? Not focus on, all this, like, what's the solution? The solution is the future. The things we're moving through, like, okay, now 1 + 1 is 2. What are you going to do with the 2? You know what I'm saying? And we don't do that enough. We don't look at the possibilities ahead because we so stuck on feeling some certain type of way about what was, And so, that's one thing, again, some of my growth is coming in the past couple of years. I'm being real. And I hope that I feel that in 2 years too, that I'm still growing like that. And I think that's what it's about, just learning every day. So when we think of that learning, how are some ways that you kind of foster creativity, right? Creativity is learning, it's getting in the moment. But how has that fostering of creativity allowed you to really just prioritize some things in your life right now? Like being yourself, coming from that place of passion and really saying, I'm coming here. No, this is where I'm coming from no matter what. How has that made you better put a focus on the things that are important to you in life?
In my life, I feel like because I'm a creative, and I do consider myself to be creative, when you're this creative, your mind runs a lot faster than you do. So I've had to learn, honestly, how to prioritize what's most important to me by saying, you know what, sometimes my mind is like a computer with 50 tabs open. And sometimes I have to be like, you know what, delete, 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 delete. Just focus on one thing at a time, Aisha. And it has truly, like you just said, over the past 2 years, God is my witness, over the past 2 years, I'm probably stronger now than I've been in the 10 years that I've been doing this. And it's because I had to learn that I was going to lose some things, and I lost some people, and I lost some opportunities, but it was because I was not ready. I was trying to, save myself, save everyone else, save the neighborhood, be a mom, and just I was being pulled in so many different ways, and I really didn't understand that I had to really focus, drive hard on one thing, complete that task, and then move on. And it would stagnate me because I would, like I said, felt like I had so many tabs open and trying to do so many things at one time that I was dropping the ball.
Right.
And, a big part of I used to know her was me realizing that my entire life is based on what I create right now. And I have to create the life that I want. And if that means I have to let some people go, I have to let some opportunities go, I have to look over something, and then that's what I have to do. So I've had to make myself accountable for my own actions. That's a very hard thing to do for a lot of people. It was tough for me, but it was like, do you want to still be here at the end of 2020, or you trying to level up and be here in 2020? So the choice is literally yours. The choice is yours. So I started to cut down on things that I was involved in. I started to cut down on things that wasn't really going to feed the fuel to my fire so that I can get to my next level. So I chose the things that are the most important to me right now. And I also had to realize that I had to make sure that I was in a position mentally, physically, and emotionally to accept what I've been asking the universe for. So I have to make sure that I'm mentally ready for that next level. I have to be, ready emotionally for that next level. So it took a lot of I was my own accountability partner. I had to really check myself, and I'm to the point now where it'd be like, you could have said that better, or you could have done that better, or you could have presented this better. And those things are allowing me to grow. They're really allowing me to mature. I'm 35, but I've always had such a very old spirit, but I still needed to mature in so many different ways and so many different lanes that the past 2 years has been really cutting things off, realizing what is most important right now, and then focusing on those things, getting things done, and then I'll move on or extend myself where I know I can. But if I know I can't and it's gonna be too much, then I have truly learned to say, you know what, I cannot do this right now.
Right.
I cannot be a part of this right now. I have to, stay focused on this. And I honestly feel like for some people, I don't think they understand when I said that this pandemic hitting was a hard reset. It is a hard reset. This gave a lot of people the opportunity to get things done that they probably would not have gotten done if it didn't hit. Because when you're working a job, you're not able to put 110% behind, those things that you're trying to do, as an entrepreneur. I wasn't giving my passion 110% because I was too busy trying to work that job.
Yeah.
So now it's like my priority is Aisha and where I want to be by the end of 2020. And that's all I focused on in 2020. And I've gotten so much more done because I've learned to, one, check myself, and two, to really prioritize and focus on what is going to take me there. And if being a part of 50 organizations in the neighborhood and trying to run for everybody else is not going to get me there, then it has to go on the back burner. But that's not to say that those are not things that I can't pick up on down the line. So I just want to put myself in a great position to win. And once I do that, then I can circle back and pick up those things that, are still a passion for me, but they just were not a priority for me at the time.
Yeah. You got to run with the people that are going to run with you.
Yeah.
And everyone ain't going to run, So, yeah, that's it. That's it. So one thing we got about 5 minutes left or so. I want to throw one question in that is going to take us a little bit off of our community-based balance of life and take us a little bit more into the kind of global balance of life. There's something called the Great Balancing Act. There's an article, I think the first installment was 2013. It's called Creating a Sustainable Food Future. And one of the questions raised was, how can the world adequately feed more than 9 billion people by 2050 in a manner that advances economic development and reduces pressure on our environment. And I know one thing you and I had talked about the other day is obviously, the food deserts on the west side of Chicago. Um, what are some ways that either you've thought of or that I know you're in the process of a lot of things right now, but what are some ways that, we can work together to minimize some of these food deserts?
Definitely two things off the top of my head, two things that I know I've thought of for years now. There are no Black-owned grocery stores in Austin. I don't even know if there are any Black-owned grocery stores on the west side. In our community, I know for a fact that the two stores that they consider to be a grocery store are like terrible. I mean, I wouldn't buy anything out of these stores. I mean, the conditions are not even up to par. But if that's your only choice, then that's where you're going to go shop. So I have always, Black people, we come from crops. We come from planting and growing our own things. I mean, no one has a better green thumb than older Black, grandparents and great grandparents. And we don't teach our children any longer how to really make their own food, how to cook their own food. It's like restaurant food or nothing for a lot of homes, for a lot of kids. Globally, we should be buying up land. We should be, creating farms and teaching our young people about agriculture. This is so deeply rooted in who we are that it kind of shocks me that more people are not interested, but it's not something that is often talked about other than saying that we were slaves. No. Before all of that, because we were not slaves. We were enslaved. It's a difference. So, I mean, I come from great grandparents who every woman in my family has a green thumb. The house is full of flowers, the yards are full of flowers, they're planting, they're growing their own fruits and vegetables and things like that. Like those are just things that are passed down to us. And I know, a lot of us in Chicago come from the South. So those are things that they brought with them. But when you are not at all introduced to any of those things, either through your generations or through your educational system, it doesn't even seem important to you. So we as Black people, I just read a story today where 19 families in Georgia bought up 100+ acres of land so that they can create a community safe for Black people. Wow. So they're going to create their own town, bro. Like, wow. They're about to create a community for their families, and everything will be run, owned, and operated by Black people. Like, that is proof right there that it can be done. You know what I mean? It's all about saying, you know what, at this point, we're going to unite.
All right.
Make a sacrifice. We're going to unite. It's no, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. We are all equal in this. We all understand what the goal is, and we're going to move forward to do that. Like, if we see more of that, we can absolutely see, sustainable food and economic advances in our communities, because we hold all the secrets. We hold all the secrets. This is just who we are. It's in our blood. It's in our nature. And for these young people, if they are taught how to do it, they can get it like that. I mean, their minds work faster than we give them credit for, and they catch on so much faster when people actually invest the time and the passion in it, and they show them, how beneficial this could be to them in the long run. So we have to start looking at things from a greater aspect. And unfortunately, if we don't get our kids out of the idea that, their neighborhood is as far as they can go, then they'll forever think that they have to just accept what's here, when in all actuality, we have tons of open land, abandoned properties in this neighborhood across this city that could be used to do just that if we get to. You know what I mean?
so many buildings that are just like,
I have,
what?
I have a vision. It's coming. It's coming. And when we come, I'm definitely making noise. Like it's not gonna be any ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Hold on, what's up with it? What's up with it? Forever.
We're asking. We're not asking this time. You know what I'm saying? Now it's to the point where, I've talked to some people, like some elected officials, and they're like, well, how do you gonna get right or you gonna get left? Same way we got you in, we'll get you out. Either you're gonna pay attention to what we're saying and you're gonna get on board, or I'm just gonna start telling people, where to meet me, what time, and what the deal is, and we just gonna move on you. Like, we're no longer waiting for that older generation. We tried what you all laid out in front of us. We tried the different programs and the different things that you said were going to work and going to advance us and were going to help us.
Right.
And we still here. You know what I mean? A lot of you are still in office and we're still here. That means we gave you that opportunity. Our grandparents and parents gave you that opportunity. Aisha ain't giving you that opportunity. You ain't taking me another 20 years with this BS. Now you're going to have to feel me. You're going to have to feel that young blood so that we can do what's right for these kids, and that they will be the next generation, and each generation will get better and better and better. But it's going to have to take someone to really put their feet to the ground, stand on people's necks, and stop taking, those little tidbits. Stop taking that little pat on the back. That's not good enough for me. It's not good enough for me. And that's why I seem to shake up certain things, because I'm not going to just accept that. So we can definitely do that here. We can definitely spearhead that here. But it's going to have to start with us having those conversations right now with our young people in our schools and making issues and topics like that a priority. Because if they don't understand it, slowly but surely, we have people of other races and ethnicities moving into Austin. You know why? We have $1 million homes that's selling for $200,000, $300,000 right now. I'll go over here, I'll plant myself, never come outside until it gets a little, a little more my speed around here, but here's what we gonna do. No gentrification in Austin. Not while I'm here, it's not.
We ain't gonna let it happen.
No.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, you the vet. I'm just along to learn. I'm the rookie. So I appreciate you, just coming on. I want to end it with one question. One question. When you leave this earth, how do you want to be remembered, Aisha Oliver?
Oh, I've asked myself that so many times. I want to be remembered as a change agent. I want to be remembered as someone who saw her gift and used it for the greater good. Not a martyr, but a mother. I want to be remembered as someone who, when it seemed like the village had been burned, I was willing to rebuild it. I want to rebuild that village. I know that it takes a village to raise one child. I know that for a fact. So if, in my own way, walking my own path, if I can change one life, then I've done a great job. But if I can plant seeds along the way of hundreds of thousands and more of the same light and love that I give to these young people, then I've changed the generation, and they're going to change the generation, and they're going to change the generation. So I did my job. I accepted my calling. It might not be with the greatest platform, but I know for a fact that I am making waves. I know for a fact that I am planting great seeds into these young people and into the people who are in my community, because I walk it out. I don't just talk about it. They see me get my hands dirty. They see the action. So when I leave here, not only will Austin forever remember me, but the West Side will forever remember me, and so will the city of Chicago, because everything I did, it was done out of love.
I'm humbled. I'm appreciative that you poured your heart out to us, and that you're giving your blood, your sweat, and your tears to this community. And y'all follow her. Okay. She's moving mountains. And so if you want to be behind someone that is making that change happen, get out there. She's out there. She's receptive. She loves talking with people. And more importantly, loves doing the damn thing of what needs to be done. So again, just so appreciative of you. And we look forward to just working with you and creating whatever the goodness is that we can combine powers together to create. It's all about the youth, and the children are our future. So thank you again, Aisha, for coming on. Always end it, and I think this is something that I can't stress enough, y'all. We always look to this reason for why things aren't getting done, and this person that hurt us why we ain't getting there. But at the end of the day, in order to follow your dreams, you got to put your passion first. Aisha, thank you. We out, y'all. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
All right, girl. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you.
No problem.